Hello friends! Welcome to Daily Sourdough. Lately I've had several people ask me the same question, so I decided I would answer that question today. And the question is, why do you ferment some things in the refrigerator and why do you ferment other things on the counter? Which is a great question. So first of all, fermenting your dough, whether it's bread dough or whatever dough, fermenting it in the refrigerator provides you that really long fermentation period. Between 12 and 24 hours is best. And this allows the wild yeast and the bacteria to break down the glutens and the sugars in your dough. This provides more good bacteria and more benefit to your digestive system. Another reason that you ferment things for a long period of time in the refrigerator is because that high acidity level then creates a stronger flavor. So you get more of a tang when you ferment in the refrigerator. So if you like that really tangy flavor in your bread, then ferment it in the refrigerator. Another reason you ferment your dough in the refrigerator for a long period of time is that it provides more structure to your bread. So when you're shaping it and baking it, your bread will have more shape and more structure to it. And still another reason for fermenting in the refrigerator is it gives you more leeway of when you want to bake your bread. You have a 12-hour window or even longer, maybe a 2-day window where you can bake your bread because it's just slowly fermenting in the refrigerator, so you're in no rush and it can sit there for, I've left mine in the refrigerator, my dough in the refrigerator for 3 days, and it rose beautifully in the oven even after that long of a fermentation period. So it really gives you a large window to work with. So if your schedule's really busy, you don't have to wonder if your dough is going to fall. You can definitely ferment your sourdough bread on the counter. You just have to keep an eye on it because when it's fully proofed, then you want to be ready to put it in the oven because after that it will fall and your bread will be flat. So fermenting your bread dough on the counter just requires you to pay more attention to it and keep an eye on it. However, fermenting it on the counter will give you less of a tang. So let's say your family doesn't like the tanginess of the bread as much, then proofing it on the counter will make it less tangy. So if you're making just a white bread, a sandwich bread, and you don't want all the flavor of a sourdough bread, then ferment it on the counter. When making something like tortillas, it might be best to pay attention to the elements around you. For example, if your house is really warm, then fermenting them on the counter will require less time because a tortilla you have to manipulate and handle a lot, and the warmer your house is, the faster it's going to break down, and then the harder your dough will be to work with. So pay attention to that and whether or not you need to ferment it in the refrigerator or on the counter. And you just have to learn to work with your elements and work with the dough. So if your house is really warm, maybe ferment it in the refrigerator. If your house is cold, then you can set it on the counter. When working with something like cookie dough, then if you don't want the tang, don't put it in the refrigerator, but it will just require less fermentation time on the counter. So don't let it ferment for a full 12 hours. So it's a matter of working with your environment, the heat in your home, and learning how to use your dough, how to work with your dough. And the more you work with it, the more you understand it and the more you know what your dough needs, because it's a living organism and it needs to eat, it needs to rest, it needs to grow just like we do. So just work with the dough And the more you do it, the more you'll learn what it needs. And friends, if you have any more questions, please send them my way, because I would love to help you learn how to use your sourdough on a daily basis. And stay tuned for more recipes coming up on Daily Sourdough.